coming up on the Lead Ministry Podcast.
You're essentially what you're doing is you are loaning your confidence to them. You have confidence. You see confidence in them. When you do that, when you call it out, you're loaning that confidence and self-awareness to them.
Now your host, Josh Denhart.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Lead Ministry Podcast. Grateful that you're here. Very excited. Here we are, dead middle in the month of December. And of course, yes, I get it. December is definitely a busy month, but you can make some serious gains in the month of December. So my name is Josh Denhart. Grateful that you're here. And we're talking this entire month about developing and creating a successful internship program. Now, for me, my internship programs were 12 weeks long. They were usually in the summer, but somebody might be like, oh, wait. Why are we starting to talk about an internship in December if it's a summer internship? Well, you got to get a hold of the good interns, right? And so the development of the program can happen in this particular month, and then you're inviting people to be a part of your internship as the months go forward. But we got a friend here, Mr. Vance Martin. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, good to be with you, Josh. Good to see you too, man.
You bet, man. I'm always grateful to talk to you. You know, there have been many a time where we're on our regular weekly phone call where we hang out and just talk about life and stuff that we're like, we should have hit record. So today we're hitting record.
We're doing it.
They're doing it. Grateful that you're here. Grateful for your insights. And you know what? You're going to be the star today in terms of kind of leading us through some special content specifically about interns, but specifically about your dad. And interestingly enough, your dad, this of course, this podcast is Lead with Legacy in Mind, right? And your dad did a great job. You say here that
he did.
That your dad was a pastor. He was your first mentor. He did for you what every intern needs. Kind of talk us through those quick bullets real quick. We'll touch each one.
Yeah. So what did my dad do for me? Well, first, he believed in me. Then he gave me opportunities. He let me fail, and then slowly gave things away. And I'm not sure if my dad did this intentionally or if it was just, he did it intuitively, but it was definitely effective.
It happened.
It did. Absolutely.
And so because it happened, there were some great outcomes. I mean, Vance, not everybody knows this, but you have kind of a fun history. I don't know if we'll be able to get into it fully here, but your family, you guys did a lot of fun ministry together, and you did it as a family. And so you were kind of like this specialty guy who was doing this fun you were in training from a very young age for ministry. And I think that is literally super, super special. So your dad did some things right? And we're going to kind of cover those today. Well,
he did.
Let's do that now. He practices to develop an intern. Here we go. So there's 4 big things that you're having us talk about. Call it out, let them fail, give them platform, and gradually hand it off. So these are the big things that you just mentioned, but we're going to touch on each one individually. Let's talk about this first one, call it out. Now, call it out. Call out what they can't see. You said that your dad believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'll say too, before dive too much into that specifically, I just want to give a little bit of context too. I was able to take all of these principles that I identified as I look back on how was I developed? Mm-hmm. And then I went on to lead an internship program for several years. And so that was my primary job for almost 3 years was at a school of ministry at a church where we were doing this. And so all that background of how was I developed in ministry was how all of this, was formulated. And then I got to take that pattern and very intentionally do that with students. But when you call it out, here's what I think often is that confidence and identity is some of the biggest hurdles with students, with interns. They don't really know themselves yet and what their strengths, their weaknesses, their limitations are. And often we can see things in them that they can't even see in themselves.
Yes.
I mean, how many times, Josh, have you seen somebody go, that's a little Josh Denhart over there? We got to.
Right. Or, yeah, you're right. I mean, what I call it is it's this thing that I call the I see in you, those 4 letters. I see in you. And it sounds like I see, like ISEE, I in you. And so that's what it is. It's calling out things that they can't see and having that kind of leadership eyesight.
There's a lot of times that because they don't have the hindsight of that you and I have of all of our failures and how that shaped us, that helps us develop that level of self-awareness of knowing what my boundaries are, knowing what I like, knowing what I'm good at. And so with an intern, often they are still exploring these things. And so we've got to call it out even when they can't, when they don't know who they are, what they are good at, and giving them opportunities. And sometimes they're going to fail, which we're going to get into.
Yeah. But the cool thing is that like, it's almost like this prophetic eyesight where you're like, do you have any idea? Like this seems to be true in you. And they're like, well, I don't see that. Well, I do. Let's talk about that. And so that's kind of the deal. Most interns don't know who they are and they aren't sure of what they're capable of. That's our role, right?
Yeah. To speak that in existence for them. Stan Endicott, who was the founder of the organization Slingshot Group that I work with, he used a term that he used called lobbing forward. And essentially what that means is it usually starts with a phrase like, hey, I'll bet you could, or have you ever thought about, or I think you would be really great at. And so you're expanding their mind to think about and see something. You're essentially what you're doing is you are loaning your confidence to them.
Love that.
You have confidence. You see confidence in them. When you do that, when you call it out, you're loaning that confidence and self-awareness to them. Like, you can trust me. I see this in you. You may not see it yourself, but I'll bet you could do something pretty amazing.
Yeah, the I see in you factor. But you know what? The funny thing is, Vance, is that this isn't our first rodeo, right? You and I have done this a number of times. We've been at a camp, right? It was always at camp for me when I was a camp speaker, and I would see some camp counselors, and I'm like, that person, they are a future super leader. And I would just kind of pull myself around them and say, hey, has anybody ever told you, that's another Stan Endicott type statement, right? Has anybody ever told you that? And really, really, really powerful. So those are fun things. And I get really excited about those types of conversations. Okay. So the call it out piece, the power to call out hidden potential, sometimes even before it exists.
Yeah, this is this principle of that you have our word. We know that our words have great power, right? And the power of the tongue is what?
Life
and death. There's great power in this. And when we can speak out something, and I'm not saying to just randomly call out things. I mean, you really pray about it and think about these people and call this out. And this might be something that needs to be cultivated in them. It doesn't exist, but you're you're calling something to life. You're saying, Lazarus, come forth. There might be something dormant in them. And by the prophetic voice and influence that you have, calling them to something greater, people often step up to the expectations you set for them.
You're absolutely right. I remember seeing this crazy kid back in the day, and he dressed weird. He had a weird haircut, and he didn't look the part, but but his level of execution fit the bill. And so, I just pulled him along and pulled him aside, and I developed a relationship with him over 3 different summers. I gave him micro little projects from a distance, and lo and behold, he ended up coming on staff with me for 7+ years, got elevated to a high role. And I'll never forget when I had a youth pastor pull me aside, because this guy was he was so gifted. Everybody at our church wanted a piece of him.
Yeah.
And our youth pastor incredulously said, well, I mean, you just hired, a gold nugget that you didn't even know was there. And I said, actually not true. I saw this 3 years long before I ever even hired him. I was cultivating this relationship. And so it is calling them to some excellence. But I like this next piece, Vance. This next piece that you bring up is let them fail. This is really important.
Yeah.
Now, for some high-strung, type A, manic personalities out there, they're already getting clammed up. They're already scared at this point.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to let them fail, and then you coach them through it. You said that your dad let you fail, and one of your major principles for interns is let them fail.
Yeah, this is letting them go on a tightrope with a net.
Ooh, I like that.
You don't send them out on a tightrope without a net. This is in some ways controlled chaos.
Mm-hmm.
What are the things? And this is the whole point of an internship when you're mentoring someone is allowing them to experience failure, because pain and failure are absolutely the best avenues of growth.
Yeah.
This is why God teaches us to spank our children.
Yes.
Right? Because pain is a great teacher. And so failure is also a great teacher. We don't want them to fail, but we're there in case they do. That's your job, is when they fail, to help them when they fail.
I had I had a gal, and this was when I was a high school chemistry teacher, and I had a student teacher, which is a type of internship, right? And she was so gifted. She was so smart. And I thought, oh my word, I think she's smarter than me. I actually was intimidated by her because she was so gifted. And then I just was like, but can she handle herself in front of a room of people? And so I placed her in front of a room of people, and she failed so miserably. And by the way, what did I do? I actually hid behind all of the lab stations, and I did not bail her out. I let her flounder. Now, it was only for about 10 minutes as class was done. It was the first time she was in front of the kids. And I let her almost die on the vine. And then after that, she came to me and said, that was the worst experience of my life. And she said, I'm a type A person. I've succeeded everything. I think this is the first time that I've actually truly failed.
Oh, wow.
And this is the truth here. She went to the bathroom and vomited multiple times because it was so upsetting to her. But then she came back and she said, now I know what to watch because you are a gifted teacher. Now she was now finally positioned. Now, in a sense, Vance, I had this intuition that she needed to fail in order to position her to actually grow. I think that she thought she had nothing to learn. And so
there wasn't an openness there for it.
There wasn't an openness. And so for her to fail in that particular case dashed some of that veneer of perfection that she already had this solved. And now she was open for some learning. Well, another thing you say is don't protect them from every mistake. Protect them from not learning. Talk to us about this. I like this.
I think often I look at even in my parenting between my wife and I. My wife's tendency typically is to want to shield and keep my 2 girls from ever experiencing any type of pain.
Sure.
I, on the other hand, try and create scenarios where they can experience a little bit of pain.
Right.
And make mistakes.
But with a net. But with a net.
That's right. Yeah. It's knowing, often when we're talking about helping, when I'm doing a lot of coaching, one of the principles I think, I'll say this, sometimes it's the season of the bad juggler. You have to know what's a glass ball and what's a rubber ball.
Ooh, like that.
And, rubber balls, they can bounce.
That's right.
So just let them fall. Don't give interns glass balls.
That's right.
Just let them juggle with the rubber balls. Because if they drop it, it's going to bounce. And we can just pick it up and we can learn.
No harm, no foul.
That's right.
But I don't necessarily want to put them in charge of something that has serious gravitas, serious consequences. And, that's us as leaders. We have to discern that. And so like with my little student teacher, there was nothing wrong with her taking a 10-minute opportunity after the lab was done for her to colossally burn out. Now, key topic, I don't want her to colossally burn out because I'm going to have to come in there and rescue everything. So we as leaders need to know the difference between a glass ball and a rubber ball. That's a good word.
We often, as leaders, we have to figure out what we value more, equipping or excellence. And often our value for excellence is higher than our value of equipping. Now, it's not to say we don't want to aim to excellence, right? But if we don't allow people to try things and to fail at things, they never will become excellent, and you'll be stuck holding all of the balls. How this really played out originally for me with my dad was when we were kids evangelists, right? And so when I was 13 years old, I had expressed interest and felt a personal call and wanted to try these, try some stuff. So my dad would let me do the closing big object lesson thing, and I'd watched him close out a service and say the prayer or give the altar call hundreds of times in my life, right? And so what my dad would do is I would give that closing lesson, object lesson, 13. Okay. And again, this is a big deal, bringing in, you know what that's like. Josh,
you were the paid speaker. You were the paid family.
That's right. This is not children's church here.
Right.
And so what I would do is he would give me the opportunity. If I felt like I was confident, could just go right into the, closing, giving the prayer time altar, I would do it. Or he was standing on the side of the stage with his handheld mic.
At any moment. I just
looked at him and he just stepped right in and took it from there, and it was a seamless transition. So only he and I knew that was what was happening, but that was a safety net. Okay, I want you to do this. Here's how you're going to do it. If I didn't, but if I failed, if I crumbled, if I got stuck, I'd look over. He's right there. He steps in.
I love that. That's really good. And go ahead.
I was going to say that the protect them from learning thing, this is when we're afraid of the failure ourselves, we won't give the opportunities to people. And so what we're really doing is you are protecting them from learning.
Yes.
If you're holding them back.
Now, I'm sorry to hit all these high school experiences that I had as a teacher, but one of these fits, I was at Valley High School, and we're one of the strongest schools in the state of Iowa in terms of our football team. One state over and over and over. But one of the principles, Vance, of the leadership of the football team was we play the freshmen. Well, truth be told, they didn't really play the freshmen. They played the sophomores because we were a 10, 11, 12 building, and the freshmen had their own team. But they played the sophomores. What does that mean? Well, they would get ahead by 21-3, let's say. Now, it's not a blowout at this point. 21-3, that's still a game. This lot can change pretty quick. But what they would do is on the weak side of the play, let's say the play was going to go around the right, they would put the sophomores on the left side where the action wasn't going to happen. But they put them over there so that they could actually feel the thrill of the field. This isn't practice anymore. This is the real game. That is an opponent across from you. And in other words, they sacrifice putting the absolute greatest players in at all times, and they would substitute in some weaker players, knowing that it could go a little bit bad, but it's on the opposite side of where the ball is going to go. But that gave people experience. But I think that it's really difficult for people, myself included, to not have it go perfect. And so therefore we go, no, I have to do this. And I think that is really a bad idea. You say, give them real responsibility, then offer feedback, not rescue.
Yeah. So you gradually are moving up to this, giving them things that actually matter. This is you letting your teacher flounder a little bit. Here's where we if we don't take advantage of expect the failure to happen, build that in. And now when failure happens, there's the openness. And now we can learn, hey, how did that go in your mind? That's the key question that you're always asking is, first you want to see, instead of what you don't want to do is say, here's what you did wrong.
No.
Okay, they failed. Giving them an opportunity to grow is to evaluate themselves. And one, you're going to get to know where they are as how well their self-awareness is.
Yeah, like all of a sudden they could say in their mind, that was absolutely
it was great.
Awesome.
It was amazing. And we're like, well, actually, most of the time people know. So,
but if they don't, then you got to read on them.
Absolutely correct. And now we have to introduce a whole nother set of, okay, well, here's what we're actually looking for. Maybe I miscommunicated on what we're shooting for. And like a lot of this obviously is built on the principle of, okay, I'm going to do it and you're going to watch.
Oh yeah.
Then we're going to do it together. Then you're going to do it. I'm going to watch, and then you're going to do it with others. Right. And so knowing where you're at in that process. And so this is, you're going to do it and I'm going to watch. They've already watched you. You've already modeled this for them. You've communicated what the expectations are. This is not just releasing them. This is after you've already done this together.
This is really important because premature release is automatic failure.
Yes. We're preparing them not to fail, but expecting them to.
That's exactly right. And part of this deal is something you say, failure is not the end of development. Failure is actually the engine of development. I think this is the put the pin in it kind of phrase here. This is huge.
Yeah. This pain is the greatest teacher. That when there is failure, there's openness, there's receptiveness, there's a recognition. It's capturing that failure moment. We sometimes have a tendency to feel we want to avoid that moment, or it feels awkward because they feel bad. And I don't know how, I don't deal with emotions very well. That's the very moment that you step in.
That's right, Vance. The funny thing is that now somebody who's very averse toward any kind of conflict or any kind of anything, they're going to go, even though it went terribly, they're going to go, oh, that was great. You did awesome. Because the leader doesn't want to step in and well, they already know that it went bad. I need to build them up. No, we're going to build them up through okay, here's the deal. Failure, like you say, is not the end of development. It's not like, oh, they failed. Okay, we're done here. No, that is, hey, this didn't go exactly as it could. Let's talk about 2 things that you can do to pull that nose up. It's the engine of development. Yeah. In other words, listen, if they don't fail, then we don't have a rubric we don't even have any material. Like watching them fail is now my material for what I'm going to want to develop in them. Their failure is now my material.
Failure doesn't cost you as an organization. It's an investment in the person you're developing.
That's right.
That's what you gotta look at it as not, wow, that you just cost us a lot, or we met this something crashed and burned. And most of the time, the people that we're dealing with aren't even going to notice the thing that supposedly failed or went wrong.
Well, their failure becomes my curriculum. Their failure is now my curriculum.
Yeah.
This is good. Okay,
Absolutely.
let's move on. We now have give them platform. So give them your platform. Your dad gave you the platform. Interns don't need busy work. What do they need? They need meaningful exposure and access.
So, another way to put this would be your failure to share the spotlight is the thing that is keeping you from sharing the load. And we often want the spotlight, and we want to elevate ourselves and give everybody else the grunt work. That's not what interns need. They're not there as slave labor for you.
Nope.
That's not they are a steward. You are a steward of this life that you are developing and wanting to launch. And so when we give them our platform, I worked really hard to get my platform, and they may not have another opportunity to be in this situation. And the more time that I can give them, share my spotlight, share my platform. And what I mean by platform, it's influence. I'm going to share my influence with them, the influence that I've earned with people. I'm going to make introductions. I'm going to introduce them to the people that I know. I'm going to help them build a network. If I get invited to do a breakout, I'm going to have them share something in that breakout. I'm sharing it's my dad. He was the evangelist, but he gave his 13-year-old son an opportunity to do the main object lesson.
Well, the interesting thing, back in the day, I had a guy named Carter, and he was on my staff, and he was a great guy, and he was very capable. He had a little bit of trouble landing his talks, right? He had a lightning out of the gate. It was like everybody's captivated, but then he would just circle, like, the airplane that's like, hey, we're waiting for a landing. And you're like, land the plane already. That was kind of him and his teaching. We worked very long and very hard on those things. But I got to say, I had done the speaking at Des Moines Christian School chapels. I'd done that, and I was very excited when I got asked, and I really prepared, and I showed up and did my best, and then they kept asking me, and then I started refusing to do Des Moines Christian chapels and forcing Carter to do Des Moines Christian chapels. So I didn't need any more experience or exposure or access. I had already gained all of that. I said, hey, I love you. You don't have a choice. This is an area in which you need to grow. You're super gifted right now, but now you do Iowa Christian Academy and you do Des Moines Christian. Every time they come to me, I say no, but I, quote, got a guy. I got a guy for that, And so your platform becomes a launch pad. Listen to me now. I had worked really hard to gain the credibility that the leaders of those two Christian schools were asking me to be a speaker. And now I was now like gifting my platform to him as a launch pad. I no longer needed the kudos, Vance.
Right.
He needed the experience.
Yeah. Right. You have to see the influence and platform that you have. The pedestal side of this is you're the top of the pyramid. I've arrived and you guys are here to serve me and help me. No, I'm going to give away every ounce of opportunity. And you have a choice to make a lasting legacy. Your ministry can live beyond you if you treat your platform as a launch pad.
That's exactly right.
It's reaching down to the people that are less experienced that you're trying to train and pull them up to your platform to send them and launch them forward. Right. And many times even often be more successful than you ever were.
That's right. That's Carter. And he's an exceptional teacher. And so the platform or the pedestal that I had built, I wasn't a ball hog.
You can't be.
I was giving it away. So you don't lose your influence by sharing it. You multiply it. And so all of a sudden now, watch this, in the kingdom, okay, Des Moines Christian and Iowa Christian Academy, they now had two really good guys that they could dip to. Josh and Carter. And guess what? We also started to enlist Andy. So before too long, now we had 2 backups. And so it was years. I never spoke at Des Moines Christian ever again because I had already gleaned the type of experiences that by the way, did I need Des Moines Christian? I needed Des Moines Christian as much as they needed me, right? I needed them to grow myself. Now that I had grown, it was time to give it away. And so I started to multiply myself through them. Well, the next one is the gradual handoff. Really, really important. Your dad, you say he handed off everything, but I bet he didn't do it all at once. It was the gradual handoff. No. Development isn't a moment. It's the process of letting go gradually. Okay,
so this will tell you it's a little old school, all right? But this is how it started. Like old school children's ministry event. We had puppets were a big deal. Okay, sure. It was a thing back then. And my dad was a great puppeteer and character puppeteer. And so did I eventually become that. But I didn't start there, right? It was when I have a picture of myself in a diaper with a puppet on my hand.
You're kidding. That's hilarious.
Oh, absolutely. Just having puppets are in a part sense, of life.
It was the beginnings. That was the beginnings.
Yes, that was the beginnings. And then when I got old enough to stand up, the puppets would sing songs. I was the background puppet.
A little bit at a time.
And then when I got better, guess what? Then I was the lead singer of the songs doing the puppets. And then when I started developing characters, I would do it in the morning chapels, right? And then eventually I came up with my own characters or took over the main character and would do it. Me and my dad have pretty much the same voice. So I even learned the voice and would do it and took over, and eventually it became mine.
But it was a slow and methodical, you got to learn. By the way, if anybody has ever done puppet ministry out there, a lot of these people are like, puppets? What are these puppets you speak of? Well, right. I got to say, even your arm strength, it has to develop.
Absolutely.
It's
yes.
Holding up that puppet and learning how to lip sync and learning how to turn the head. It's like those who are faithful in little will be faithful in much. Don't hand somebody the actual 4th down in 16 yards. No. We need the absolute most experienced player there. That is a glass ball.
That's right.
But standing somebody in the back doing, secondary song leader people by puppet, that's a rubber ball.
That's right. It doesn't, if it's not the best, it's okay. They're in the background. It's not really noticeable. I mean, you can apply that to anything, really in your ministry. But that was that's a very tangible thing that I look back even from when I was really, really young that I enjoyed and started doing.
But and you're process, right. There are
skills of developing. So the handoff is commiserate with the level of skill.
Yeah, I love that.
So you do things and your skill level rises. Well, now I can hand off more to you.
That's right.
And as the skills develop, the responsibilities increase.
I love that. So you let them own outcomes, not just complete tasks. And so this is a big one. They're actually being put in charge of things. And it's like, hey, how did that actually go? Not just I carried water for you and you did all the heavy lifting. No, you're actually letting them own some real stuff.
Yeah, this is a gradual thing of you don't start by letting them own the outcomes. You let them start by doing task with you. And, with my interns, this is what this looked like. We went through several different types of teaching, right? We would have classroom teaching of how to put together a service, how to how to select songs, how to write object lessons, so we're teaching all these things. And then along the way, now you have to develop this object lesson.
It's the next level.
That's right. And then ultimately it's your turn you're in charge of this Sunday's service. Mm-hmm. You're in charge of the whole thing. And I don't help you. I don't support you. So it's not throwing them out to the wolves. They know all these things
That's right.
And so now it's you get to make the decisions based off of all the skill that we've developed in you. Now you're in charge of the outcome.
Now,
so you're now directing and
how long did that take? How long did that take? Because we had kind of a culminating thing at like 9, 10, 11 weeks in.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we were probably, this was school year, with my interns. And so I think probably half of the way through. We also had multi-year. So we had interns that would be there for several years.
Kind of more of a
second year interns.
Yeah. What did you call that?
More leadership.
It's I called that like I can't even think of the word. Never mind.
Well, the second year interns, a lot of their responsibility and what they were learning was leading the first year interns.
Okay.
In a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right. So you learn by teaching. That's the best way to learn something is by teaching it.
Well, here's this kind of last piece that we're going to look at. You won't leave a legacy unless you're willing to step out of the spotlight. So true.
We kind of mentioned that. We kind of hit on this earlier. Your interns will never be successful if your goal is not to replace yourself.
That's right.
If I'm not willing to give them everything, if I'm not willing to step out of the spotlight, you're never going to achieve a lasting legacy.
That's right. Vance, here's a funny thing. Back in the day, I was, and this is just the truth. I'm not trying to, I'm certainly not being self-deprecating. It would be the opposite. It may even seem like I'm being prideful as I say this, but it's not true. I was by far the greatest kid teacher in a church of 2,000 plus people. I was the best kid teacher, to the point where I had all the opportunities. For the love of all that is good, I now have a traveling evangelistic ministry where I'm the guy on stage, right? My career is doing this. So when I was at Valley Church, it would have made sense for me, because I was the best in the entire building, to do all of the teaching. Guess what, Vance? I rarely did any of the teaching. People would say, well, why would you not? If you're the best, why would you not do the teaching? And I said, because my job is to teach other people how to be an awesome teacher. So I rarely found myself on stage. I was watching Carter taking copious notes, and then he and I on Tuesday would go, what the heck was that? That was a little bit weird. Why did you do that? Or, holy smokes, dude, you crushed that. And so I watched him teach for 40 weeks straight. And we prepared together, we debriefed together, and I never taught once. And so my greatest and highest use as the best teacher in the building wasn't to teach. My best and highest use was to get others to teach. Now, here's a kind of a painful phrase that I have said many a time. And if you're out there in ministry land, you need to own this one. You do not have to be the bride at every wedding, nor the corpse at every funeral. It doesn't. You stop seeking to be the spotlight. Give somebody else the spotlight. This is a funny statement, but who's the most important at the wedding? The bride. Who's the most important at the funeral? The corpse, the person who died. That's the person we're honoring. But there's so many pastors or so many leaders that are so unbelievably hungry for everybody to look at them that they seek to be the bride at the wedding. It's like, dude, get out of the way. Or they seek to be the corpse at a funeral. Get over yourself. This is not about you and your speaking abilities. This is about honoring a dead person. So at the end of the day, we need to give our interns as much opportunity as possible. Well, Vance, we're gotten a little bit long today. Really loving what we're talking about. Any closing thoughts that you have on this particular topic today?
I would just say too, this doesn't just apply to interns, right? These are things that you can apply to anybody that you're developing. But don't wait for your church to start an internship program either. Make a list of, God, who have you sent in my church that I can develop, that I can pull in closely and begin to develop them and give away my platform. And I think also have some honest conversations with yourself. God, reveal to me the places where I'm hogging the spotlight and I'm not sharing my platform. How can I let it go? How can I give it away?
You know, it's such a good word. My closing remark, if I had one, was that I'm doing this in my very own life. So the people that I'm doing lead ministry coaching with, they're to the point now that they need to be owners. So rather than them flying me in to their church to teach some of this content to their entire church, I am secretly teaching them behind the scenes, and they're using my materials, and they're now standing up and they're the sage on the stage with their staff.
Yeah.
So it's not about me. It's about really getting somebody else to do it as best as they can. Vance, this is good stuff. We're looking at internships. Gang,
Yes.
We want to make sure that you wonderful people out there know you can make a supreme difference by pouring into the life of another. Here's a quick secret. If you have an intern and you successfully steward that intern, guess what? You are going to grow as a leader in a way that you thought was not even possible. You having an intern is likely going to grow you just as much as it does your intern. Gang, this has been great. We're grateful for you. Happy December. We are right in the middle of this intern month. We want you to do everything that you can to give away your spotlight. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Lead Ministry Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and visit leadvolunteers.com for more episodes and resources. Thanks for listening.